Namaste, this is Janelle. Today I am going to share with you a tutorial that demonstrates some of the changes we've made to the guidelines for creating captions, English captions for Mooji's videos. These changes have come from recommendations and suggestions from some of the translation teams, and some of the changes are small and some of them are a bit significant and difficult to explain only in the text of the guidelines. So this tutorial is aimed to demonstrate with some explanation some of these changes, why they were made, and how they work. So today we're looking at no special effects needed as an example where we've made some changes. We'll look at some of this video together and I'll describe some of the changes, and there may be some places that we can talk about making some additional changes. So let's start by just watching the first part of this video.
There's not looking the way there was before, but I'm not sure what's left. Doesn't seem to be a lot happening. There's no great doubt, but there's no great certainty either. There's just being here.
Yes.
So there's several things that I can point out in this first section that we just looked at together. Starting with this simple change that we've made is the way that we indicate the speaker. And the small change that you see here is that we're no longer using a colon after indicating the speaker within the square brackets. So the questioner is speaking at the start of this video, so we put the word questioner without the colon. Another thing you'll notice about this caption is its length. It's 59 characters, we can see from the box here to the right, and that's significantly more characters than we would have placed in a caption in the past. The length of the caption as well, it's over 4 seconds long, and in the past we would have likely broken this caption up into 2 captions, about half as long, but this reflects a new preference that we have to include complete phrases in a caption, complete sentences where possible, but at least complete phrases. So in this example, we've got the questioner saying there's not looking the way there was before. So that's a complete phrase, and it allows us to convey a full meaning in a single caption, which may make understanding and absorption easier for some viewers, especially non-English speakers who are looking at English captions. We don't put the whole sentence in a single caption because that would be a caption that's too long, too many characters. So we have 29 characters in the second part of the sentence, 59 characters in the first part. If we put them together, it'd be about 90 characters, which is too many for a single caption. We do still have to be mindful that with translation, some languages use more characters, 10 or 20% more characters in some cases, to express the same thing as we do in English. So we still want to keep the character count, I'd say below 60, below 70. Our preference is to have character count around 50 characters, when possible up to 60 or beyond 70 characters even sometimes, if it allows us to retain a grammatical unit, is okay. So this is one significant change in the way that we're captioning. Another one you may have noticed, and we'll listen to this again in just a moment so that you can hear it, is we've left out some filler words. There are a couple of places where the questioner says in this couple of phrases that are spoken here, and we've left out those filler words for clarity and also to reduce the character count and reading rate. There's also a place where she says, you know. So let's have a look at that again and see if you notice where we've left those out.
There's not looking the way there was before, but I'm not sure what's left. Doesn't seem to be a lot happening. There's no great doubt, but there's no great certainty either. There's just being here.
So you probably heard those filler words after I pointed it out, and it's okay to leave those out. Another thing you may have noticed is in the sync timing. So if we go back here, when the questioner says, There doesn't seem to be a lot happening, just there's no great doubt. The syncing of the word just when the speaker says it is actually about a second sooner, almost a second sooner than when we've placed it. So let's listen and hear when she actually says it.
Doesn't seem to be a lot happening.
So you actually hear her say just way back here. Now, the reason we haven't done the sync timing on the word just is because it makes the reading rate for the previous caption too quick. So it goes up to 17.2 characters per second. This highlights another change that we've made in general in the guidelines, a fundamental change. We have a new matter of importance, which is the reading rate being below 15 characters per second and even much slower when possible. So there will be times when the speech is quite rapid and there are a lot of words being said and we won't be able to honor that. But when possible, we want to keep the reading rate slow and but below 15 characters per second. So one way that we can do that when we've got a situation like this is to sync on the second word or perhaps another word in the phrase. So we've chosen to sync on the word theirs instead. So let's have a look.
Be a lot happening. There's no great doubt, but there's no great certainty either.
So if we sync it this way, then we can allow for, we could even take it a little bit further just to give us some more room in the previous caption, adjust the reading rate to make it a bit slower. So let's have a look at that again.
Seem to be a lot happening. There's no great doubt, but there's no great certainty either.
So that still feels okay. It doesn't seem unusual in this case because the just is said a bit early, but it is a part of the second phrase. So we include the word just in the second phrase, but we adjust the sync timing to allow enough room for the caption before. So if we look down a bit further, we move along a bit further, I want to demonstrate another change. And this is the way, a couple of changes. One change is that in the past in the guidelines, once we've typed Mooji in full once in the video, then we would only use the first initial for every instance after that when we're indicating that Mooji's speaking. We've made the change that when we can, we will include Mooji's full name. So when there's enough space to allow for reasonable reading rates and character count, as there is here, we have a nice slow reading rate of 5.3 characters per second. Same even with the following caption, a nice slow reading rate of 6.5 characters per second. When we can do that, we'll include Mooji's full name, and we just feel that this feels better to be able to include his full name when we can. When we get into a situation where the speech is very rapid and reading rate and character count become difficult to negotiate, then we might use just an M in a period, a full stop, to indicate that Mooji was speaking. That brings up another small change, which is the use of a full stop when we are abbreviating the speaker. So in the past we wouldn't do that. We would put the first initial and a colon inside of the square brackets. So here's another small change. When we abbreviate the name of the speaker, we use a full stop to indicate that we're abbreviating. One more change that I'll point out before we listen to this part of the video is the use of laughter to indicate sounds in the video. So in the past we did indicate sounds in the video, but a couple of changes here. One, we're not capitalizing the L in laughter, which we would have done in the past. Another change is that we're putting the laughter indication on the same line as words that are being spoken in the video, and we wouldn't have done that in the past. We've chosen to do that here because it still leaves the line length at a nice length. It allows us to have the text in a single line, which is another new preference in the guidelines. And it's okay because the laughter follows what Mooji says, and so it's a bit natural to have it indicated after the words are spoken. Let's have a look at what this looks like, and we'll see how these changes look.
No great doubt, but there's no great certainty either. You know, there's just being here.
Yes. Great. There doesn't have to be something.
So now two more changes that I'll point out in what we just saw. One is line length. In the past iteration of the guidelines, we had a preference to have two shorter lines rather than one longer line of text. We've changed that way of thinking to prefer one longer line of text as long as that line of text is under 50 characters. There may be even some cases where a single line may be more than 50 characters, but in general, if the line can be under 50 characters, we prefer one line of text over two in the caption. This is based on feedback that we've gotten that it's easier to read when there's a single line of text rather than two lines. It's more flowing, more natural to see it as a single line. Also, we found that this does work fine when you watch the video on YouTube, even with a single line with as many as 50 or 60 characters. It remains on one line and it looks quite fine from YouTube, even from smaller devices like iPhones or other mobile devices. So that's a fairly significant change in the guidelines that we've made. We'll move ahead to another part of the video now so that I can demonstrate some other changes that have been made, some more subtle changes in the way that we caption videos. So let's have a look at this next section together.
I mean, if there's pretty much nothing going on, is it boring? Let's just go through the list of the minds checklist.
Okay, so there are a couple of subtle changes that we've made here that I'll point out. The first one, if we look at this first line, is the way that we've separated the text and the caption over two lines. In the past iteration of the guidelines, we had an instruction that we should try to evenly break up the text over two lines when we have two lines. So here you can see we've chosen to have two lines because the character count is 61. That's a bit long to have everything on one line. The other thing you'll notice is that there's a natural break with two clauses here. So we have, if there's pretty much nothing going on, is it boring? So that's two distinct clauses. So in the new guidelines, what we suggest is that we separate lines on clauses, even when that means that the line length for each line of the caption is significantly different, as it is here, 48 characters for the first line and 13 characters for the second. And even when it means that the short line is the second line. This also contradicts a previous instruction we had in the guideline that when we do stack captions, do stack lines in a single caption, if the line lengths are different, we try to put the longer line on the bottom for this visual balance of pyramid stacking. So that the importance of that has been minimized by this new importance of keeping grammatical units together, which we feel, and we've gotten feedback that makes it easier for people to absorb and understand and have the meaning come easily of what's being said and written on the screen. So this is a pretty big change in our guidelines that's indicated here. That here's an example of that. Another thing that you may have noticed, and let's listen to this next caption again, and you may have noticed this.
Let's just go through the list of the minds checklist.
You'll notice that what Mooji actually says is, let's just go through the list of the mind's checklist. And we have not included all of those words. So what we actually typed here is, let's just go through the mind's checklist. We've done this because we haven't changed the meaning of what's being said. We believe that it's made it a bit more clear what's being said. And by leaving out the extra words, the list of the mind's checklist, and changing it to the mind's checklist, we have reduced the reading rate and the character count. So maybe giving some more space for these words to be on the screen, to be read and understood, without altering the meaning of what's being said. So that's another big change. That is a big change, but it's also a bit subtle and very much dependent on the context of what we are looking at. So this sort of liberty that we're taking with what we actually type in the caption may feel a bit uncomfortable to some people at first, and that's okay. If there's any doubt in your mind about where to exclude words, or we'll look at some examples later of where we've included some extra words to clarify the meaning. If there's any doubt, though, just type what is on the screen and leave it to the proofreader to determine if there should be a change made.